Billionaire Robert King had fired 25 maids in 2 weeks. Not because they stole. Not because they were lazy. Because none of them could do the one thing he demanded. "Make my sons speak," he said. "Or leave." That was it. That was the rule. You fail, you're out. No second chance. The staff called his mansion the Ice Palace. White floors. Silent hallways. No music. No laughter. No color. Everything perfect. Everything dead. Up on the 3rd floor were his twin boys. John and Michael. 8 years old. Paralyzed from the waist down. No movement in their legs. No words in almost a year. People whispered that they hadn't smiled since the accident. People also whispered something else, that maybe the problem wasn't the boys. Maybe it was their father. Then Evelyn showed up. She wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't from the agency Robert used. She wasn't wearing the uniform. She didn't look like someone who worked in houses like this. She looked tired. Real. Cheap shoes. Faded jacket. Hands that told a story before she ever opened her mouth. Security tried to block her at the door. But she pushed past and said, "Tell your boss I'm the last one he hasn't fired yet." And that was how Evelyn walked into a billionaire's world. You should have seen Robert's face when she spoke to him. He looked insulted just by how she existed. "You're not what I asked for," he told her. "I know," she said. "You're not qualified," he told her. "I know," she said. "Then why are you here?" And this is where everything changed. She didn't talk about the paycheck. She didn't talk about the mansion. She didn't talk about what working for a billionaire could do for her life. She just asked one question. "Do your boys have someone who sits on the floor with them," she said softly, "or only people who talk down to them?" Silence. You ever feel a room stop breathing? That. Robert stared at her. His jaw clenched. He hated her already. But he let her upstairs. He wanted her to fail like the others. He wanted to watch her leave. What happened next? Nobody in that house was ready for it. Evelyn didn't flinch when she saw the twins. She didn't gasp. She didn't pity them. She dropped to her knees. She put her face level with Michael's frozen, empty eyes. And she smiled. "Captain," she whispered. "Permission to come aboard?" Michael blinked. For the first time in 11 months, one of the twins reacted. No nurse had done that. No therapist had done that. No millionaire doctor flown in on a jet had done that. A poor girl from the South Side did it in 5 seconds. Robert's hand shook. He didn't understand it yet. But in that moment, right there, his entire life started to break. And yours is about to enter it. Let me tell you what really happened in that house. Robert King wasn't just rich. He was the kind of rich that makes other rich men nervous. Media called him untouchable. His staff called him Sir. People online called him soulless. He wasn't always like that. That's what they said. But after the accident, after the thing nobody's allowed to talk about, he froze. He turned into a machine. No softness. No warmth. If you cry at work, the head butler, Mr. Reed, used to tell new maids, "You're done." Imagine that. Losing your job because you have a heart. John and Michael lived in a bright, expensive prison. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Private nurses. Therapy gear that probably cost more than most houses. Custom medical chairs. Screens. Monitors. Sensors. And still, nothing. The boys just stared. Didn't talk. Didn't laugh. Didn't move their legs. Robert would stand in the doorway every morning and say, "Good morning, sons." He said it like a script. Flat. Like a business report. Like a man giving evidence in court. Then he'd walk away before they could answer. Because they never answered. And every day after that, he'd fire someone. Next, he'd say, calling in HR like he was swapping out a light bulb. You're probably thinking, monster. But here's something you need to understand. Sometimes cruelty is just grief that got locked in a steel box. Sometimes it's easier for a father to be angry than to admit he's scared. Evelyn understood that in the first 5 minutes. Everybody else only saw a billionaire. She saw a father drowning in silence. Do not touch them without gloves, Mr. Reed warned her. Do not move their chairs without clearance. Do not speak to them unless spoken to. Do not. Are they in pain? She asked quietly. Reed blinked. That is not your concern. Your concern is doing what Mr. King expects or clearing your things by noon. That's not what I asked, she said. You could see then why people like Mr. Reed hated people like her. He wore a suit that probably cost $3,000. She wore shoes that were patched with glue at the heel. He had perfect posture. She had a small scar over her eyebrow and a tiredness under her eyes. In his mind, he was above her. In her mind, he wasn't even in the same conversation. When Evelyn entered the twins' room, she didn't look at the machines first. She looked at the boys. Michael's eyes were checked out. You know that empty look kids get when they've seen too much? That. John was different. His face was still. But his fingers twitched like he was trying to hold on to something that wasn't there anymore. She sat on the floor between their chairs. No clipboard. No gloves. Good morning, captains, she whispered. Which one of you is in charge of the ship? Michael blinked. Blink. Blink. John's breathing changed. Just a little. Barely there. But real. From the hallway, Robert froze. He had never seen that. No one had. You could feel the air tighten. Like the whole house leaned in to listen. And in that exact moment, before anyone could speak, Evelyn did something that should have gotten her fired on the spot. She reached out and touched Michael's hand with her bare skin. Mr. Reed inhaled like he'd just watched a crime. Robert's voice dropped. What do you think you're doing? Evelyn didn't look up. Trying to wake them up. Then she said, very calmly, do you want your sons to live, Mr. King? Or do you just want them to obey? Because the answer to that question, the one he gave her, is what changed everything. Obey, Robert said. He didn't even blink when he said it. That word sat in the room like a brick. Evelyn slowly turned to face him. So you don't actually want them to heal, she said softly. You want them to behave. Mr. Reed stepped forward fast. You will not speak to Mr. King like. Leave us, Robert said. Instant silence. Reed swallowed hard and backed out of the room. It was just Robert. Evelyn. The twins. Machines humming in the background. Robert's jaw was tight. Let me be clear. My sons have had the best neurologists in the country. The best therapies. The best equipment money can buy. Do not walk in here and suggest I don't care. Evelyn looked at him. Really looked at him. You care like a CEO, she said. Not like a father. He flinched. That tiny flinch told her everything. She nodded to the twins. When did they last see the sun? Excuse me. When did you last take them outside? They are medically fragile. That's not what I asked. His silence was the answer. The curtains in the twins' room were always shut. Lights were always soft. Air always clinically clean. Everything sterile. Safe. But also dead. Evelyn stood up. Walked to the window. And opened the curtains. Just like that. Warm morning light slammed into the room. You could see dust floating in the beam like glitter. The twins' faces twitched in that sunlight. Just a tiny reflex. But it was there. Michael let out a soft sound in his throat. Almost like a sigh. Alarms did not go off. They did not burst into flames. The world did not end. But Robert. He looked furious. Close them, he snapped. Now. You don't just change their environment without medical clearance. Do you have any idea how much these children? Yes, she cut in. I do. Her voice was calm. Low. Not disrespectful. Just firm. I grew up sharing a one-bedroom with my sister Sophia, she said. She couldn't walk. There was mold on the walls and heat that broke every winter. We weren't supposed to change her environment either. You know what that means in poor language? It means, let her rot quietly so she doesn't bother anyone. Robert stared at her. My sister didn't smile for 6 months, Evelyn whispered. Then one day I rolled her wheelchair into the alley. We just sat in the sun together. She smiled. Not big. Just a little. That smile kept me alive for 2 more years. Silence. Your boys are not broken, she said. They're trapped. Big difference. Robert swallowed. You could see that in his throat. Sit, she told him. What? Sit with them. On the floor. Right now. I don't sit on the floor. You do today. For a second, his pride almost won. You could feel it. The billionaire in him. The I don't take orders from anyone part. Then he looked at his sons. And he dropped to his knees. It looked wrong at first. Like watching a lion kneel. His expensive watch hit the wood. His perfect suit wrinkled. He sat between John and Michael. Close. So close his shoulder brushed John's chair. And for the first time in 11 months, John leaned. He leaned toward his father. Barely. Just a few centimeters. But enough. Enough to make Robert's eyes shine. Enough to make Evelyn's breath hitch. Enough to make the whole story start to turn. Good. Evelyn whispered. Now we begin. Because what she did next would get her almost thrown out of the house, and save the twins' lives. Evelyn broke every rule in 20 minutes. Rule 1, no food in the therapy room. She brought in pancakes. Rule 2, all chairs stay in medical mode. She unlocked the wheels. Rule 3, no physical strain without schedule. She said, yeah, sure, and ignored it. Mr. Reed came back in and almost fainted. What do you think you're doing? He whispered, horrified. Rehab, Evelyn said. This is not rehab. This is chaos. Exactly, she smiled. She sliced the pancakes into tiny bites and held one up. Breakfast delivery for Captain Michael. Michael's mouth twitched. His lips parted. He didn't take the food, not yet. But he was paying attention. His eyes were locked on her hand. Okay, she whispered. We'll wait. Then she turned to John. Pilot John, she said softly, tapping the wheel of his chair. We're gonna test your ship. No response. She leaned closer. You wanna beat your brother? John's eyelashes flickered. There it was. There's something you need to understand about kids, especially boys. Even hurt boys. Especially hurt boys. They still want to win. Evelyn placed her hand over John's right hand. Listen, she whispered. You and me are a team. We're gonna move this wheel together. Tiny. Slow. You don't have to lift. You don't have to push. Just think forward. His fingers were cold. His palm felt stiff. She waited. Forward, John, she breathed. Just a little. Show me you're still in there. Robert was watching from the doorway. He wasn't blinking. Mr. Reed had his phone out. Probably ready to call legal. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then it did. John's index finger twitched. Not a spasm. Not a random nerve flicker. A choice. Evelyn gasped. There you are. Robert's hand went over his mouth. He actually stumbled back a step. Because the doctors had said this could not happen. The doctors had said the spinal trauma was too severe. The doctors had said, Do not expect voluntary lower movement. Prepare for permanent paralysis. But John had just moved on command. Evelyn looked up at Robert. Her face was calm, but her eyes were fire. Who told them they weren't allowed to try? She demanded. Robert didn't answer. She leaned in closer to John. Again. Forward. Twitch. Bigger this time. The wheelchair rolled maybe an inch. Evelyn laughed through her nose. Boom. That's it. You're dangerous. Mr. Reed spoke fast. This is unsafe. This is not cleared. This is... Reed, Robert said without looking at him. Leave. Sir, with respect, you cannot allow unsupervised. Leave. The butler shut his mouth and walked out, but he didn't walk quietly. He walked angry. And angry rich men's assistants are always trouble. When Evelyn turned back, Robert was staring at her like she'd just performed a miracle and a crime at the same time. What happened in that car? She asked him. He froze. What? He said very slowly. Did you just say? I saw their eyes, she whispered. This isn't just injury. This is fear. They're not only paralyzed. They're holding something in their bodies. Something heavy. Something locked. What happened in that car, Robert? His face went pale. Evelyn waited. And when he finally spoke, his voice sounded like a man swallowing glass. It wasn't an accident, he said. Because the truth about that night? It's the reason the twins went silent. And the reason Evelyn's life was about to be in danger. It wasn't an accident, Robert repeated. He was on the floor again now. Hands locked. Eyes red, but not from crying, from holding it in too long. My wife, Emma, hated cameras, he said quietly. Hated that our life was a show. Hated that everywhere we went, someone had a phone out, trying to sell us. His voice shook. We argued that night, he said. In the car. I told her the twins needed stricter structure. She told me I was turning into my father. She grabbed the wheel. There was a truck. I tried to pull her back. I swear I tried, but... He stopped. Evelyn didn't rush him. Silence can be medicine. When he finally continued, it was a whisper. She died in front of them, he said. Bleeding. Crying. Calling their names. And I couldn't get to her. I couldn't do anything. I had all that money, all that power, and I couldn't do anything. His hands shook. My sons watched their mother die, he said. And then the cameras showed up. Strangers. Taking pictures through the glass. Evelyn closed her eyes. Now it made sense. The silence. The stiffness. The boys weren't just physically hurt. They were frozen in the last moment they saw their mother alive. And Robert, this cold, cruel billionaire, had been trying to buy a way out of his own guilt. What did you do after? She asked. I fired everyone who cried in front of them, he said. I didn't want them to see weakness. Evelyn turned her head slowly. Robert, she said softly, that wasn't protection. That was emotional starvation. He actually laughed. Mr. King, he corrected out of habit. She gave him a look. He swallowed. Robert, he said again. Quieter. Good, she said. Inside, she was already working, planning, moving pieces. Step 1, light. Step 2, touch. Step 3, trust. Step 4, voice. But there was a problem. The house. It wasn't just Robert that scared the boys. It was the way everyone moved around them. Like they were fragile trophies. Mr. Reed had created that culture. Reed didn't just enforce Robert's rules. He enjoyed them. You know the type. The rich man's shadow. The kind of man who can't wait to remind you that you are poor. That afternoon, Evelyn walked into the kitchen and found Reed whispering to 2 other staff members. She won't last, he said. He'll break her. They all break. Poor girls always break. Evelyn stepped right into the middle of them. "Hi," she smiled. "Poor girl here." Reed stiffened. "You are not permitted in staff discussion areas without." "You're done speaking for those boys," she said. He laughed. "Who do you think you are?" "The first person they reacted to in 11 months, she said. "So, starting now, you talk to them like they're humans. You don't flinch when they make a sound. You don't tell nurses to keep things quiet. You don't turn off music. You don't speak to them like equipment." He moved closer. "Or what?" Evelyn smiled. "Or I teach them to say my name before yours," she whispered. A voice behind her said, broken and low, "Ev." Everyone froze. Everyone. Reed's face lost all color. Robert's glass fell from his hand and shattered on the floor. John had spoken. Not a full name. Not a full word. Just 2 letters. But it was the first sound either twin had made in almost a year. And he said it for her. Tomorrow, this house won't be the same. And neither will Robert King. By morning, there were changes. Small ones. Huge ones. No one shut the curtains. Music, soft, slow guitar, played from a little speaker. Breakfast happened in the garden. Robert hated that idea at first. "Paparazzi," he warned. "If anyone sees them." Evelyn shook her head. "You want them to heal? They need real air. Real sun. Real life. Not filtered, not bottled." So they went outside. You should have seen that moment. The twins' chairs rolled over the stone path and into the backyard. Not the big show-off for magazines yard. Not the fountain area. The side garden. The quiet one. Grapevines. Lavender. A little fountain that sounded like calm water. Michael squinted. His face scrunched, like the light actually hurt. Evelyn leaned in and whispered, "It's okay. It's just the sun saying hi." Then, "And this part is going to stay with you," Michael smiled. Not a big, open-mouth smile. But the corners of his mouth lifted. Alive. Evelyn covered her mouth with her hand. Robert sat down on the grass in his suit. Didn't care that it would stain. Didn't care that Reed was watching with murder in his eyes. Didn't care that a camera lens flashed behind the gate because some creep had climbed for a picture. In fact, when that happened, something else finally snapped. Robert stood. Walked to the gate. And for once, he didn't hide his sons like a scandal. He shielded them like a father. "Take one more shot of my boys and I will bury you in court," he said cold and quiet. "I'm done letting people make money off their pain." The photographer backed off fast. Reed tried to argue. "Sir, this is a liability nightmare. We need to move the children back inside. We should never have allowed." "You're fired," Robert said without even looking at him. Reed choked. You can't." "You're done," Robert repeated. "Get off my property." Reed looked at Evelyn like it was her fault. Like she'd stolen something from him. Then he left. And just like that, the fear in the air went with him. It felt different after that. Lighter. Evelyn sat between the twins and held out both hands. "Okay, captains," she said. "Mission for today. One tiny word. Any word." John licked his lips. Robert leaned in, eyes shaking. Michael made a sound. A slow, soft breath that almost formed shape. Evelyn nodded. "You don't have to rush. You're safe now. Nobody here is going to force you. Nobody here is going to scare you. You are not broken. You are not a story for the internet. You are not props. You are loved." Robert swallowed hard. Then he turned to Evelyn. He didn't sound like a CEO now. He sounded like a man. "I fired the others," he said quietly, "because I thought nobody could help them." "And now?" she asked. He looked at his sons. At their faces in the sun. At the tiny hope starting to show. And for the first time, Robert King, billionaire, untouchable, heart of stone, whispered the words he should have said a long time ago. "Please don't leave us." Evelyn smiled. "I wasn't planning to," she said. The twins breathed easier. The house breathed with them. And in that slow morning light, with lavender in the air and panic finally melting, something impossible began. Not just healing. Family. Now I want to ask you, do you think money can protect someone from pain, or does real safety come from love, patience, and being seen as human, even if it's coming from someone with nothing? Speech balloon backhand index pointing down.